Alrighty, you guys, what is up? We're back here to go over episode 6 of the Twisted Wonderland anime. So we a little off the mark as far as the actual date of the upload, but a bit of a process to do it over time, and with everything going on, just kind of had to uh, not necessarily put it on the back burner, but just kind of priority went to a few other things throughout the week. But anyway, so episode 6 for the Twisted Wonderland anime is titled An Army of One, which coincidentally shares its title with chapter 15 of book 1 in the game. And, going over the past couple things, book 1 is titled The Rose Red Tyrant, and as always, the opening and ending theme for the anime are Peace of My World and Obedience, respectively. And as far as where the anime starts, it just kind of goes into kind of like the general overlap of things happening, whereas Will gets more and more upset about the stuff that's going on, and the thing with the tart that like he gets bit by bit more overblotted. So we do get to see even more of that overblot animation on his mage stone specifically. And then, as far as the anime itself, starting off with anything that wasn't particularly a recap or anything like that, we do have another scene from Alice in Wonderland happening via the magic mirror. Or, yeah, I mean it's not fully explained what it is. I mean it's meant to be like a magic mirror. No, in game you do get to kind of see Mickey from the other side of it and stuff like that. But as far as that, it's just the it's kind of like a the mirror of a like kind of like not wall length, maybe like night dresser length, give or take. But anyway, so it's just a mirror in their room at Ramshackle that kind of plays these images, and you do get to see that throughout the game on all the different occasions with the book. So we see it for book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A little bit in 7, I won't say there's some of it for book 7 as well. So we do get to see it pretty much all the way throughout. So along with all that happening in Yukon and Grimm's room in Ramshackle, we do get to see uh, a snoring and purring Grim as he is evidently dreaming of eating tuna. So that all checks out. Then it takes us to the next morning where everyone's already up and awake, and Ace, Deuce, Grim, Yukon, they're going to heartslabyul to take the tart to Riddle for the unbirthday party. And as we get them there at heartslabyul, they do get greeted by a few of the different split card copies of Cater, and then he basically just like leads them into the unbirthday party. But he's like, "Oh man, you guys need kind of like fancier clothes for this as it's an actual occasion." So we see Ace and Deuce in their dorm uniform, and then we do get to see Grimm's ribbon changed to a heartslabyul theme as well, as opposed to just his general kind of somewhat tattered ribbon. And after that, we kind of have the processional stuff of the unbirthday party. We have them going, "Welcome to our very merry unbirthday party." There's no um, particular unbirthday song as with the Alice in Wonderland movie. And then as things just kind of further devolve during the unbirthday party, we do have a very topical and astute observation on Yukin's part. He just says, "No, an awful lot of dudes being, I don't know if being was part of it, but no, an awful lot of dudes colored up in here." So that's taken for what it is. It could be something more in a double entendre sense, but obviously he's more physically talking about them, about multiple heartslabyul students having the off with their head collar. And one thing that's kind of not it's not good or bad per se. It's just kind of like occasionally we get the characters being referred to differently by different people at different times. And in this one particular instance, we do have um, one of the students that's announcing the start of the birthday party refer to Riddle as the Red Sovereign. And then also in lieu with the whole Alice in Wonderland thing and the rules of the Queen of Hearts and whatnot, we don't get a specific rule number for this one, but as far as the birthday parties are concerned, we do have the presence of a dormouse being asleep inside the teapot, and then Riddle is basically getting a toast started before they begin the croquet tournament. There's like a fuck ton of desserts and stuff all over the place for the birthday party. We have the chestnut tart, which as things further dissolve, dissolve. Either I think can be correct actually, but anyway, as things further kind of escalate and get out of hand, we do get one extra rule. We do have them seeing. We get two rules on this episode. Two rules and two rules only. There's no other specific numerical mention of rules. Wait. Well, we do get one in the game, which we'll bring up in the differences to the game. But as far as the rules that we do see out in the episode, we get rule number 562, which is one must never, under any circumstances, bring a chestnut tart to an unbirthday tea party. There's something, then we have some of the students starting to be like, there's too many rules. How do we expect this to be followed? All this without like getting fucked over, basically. So that's where we get to see that in heartslabyul, in accordance to the Queen of Hearts rules, there are actually 810 rules, and as Riddle puts it, someone must enforce them. And then we do get to see that kind of little exchange between Cater and Trey when we hear of how many rules there are, because they apparently they themselves didn't know about the rule with the chestnut tart for the unbirthday parties. So that's what we get to see from here. Get to hear rather from Cater and Trey that Trey mentions that he has only memorized up to rule 350, so he's well, not just under, still a bit under, but he's memorized less than half of the rules, which, all things considered, is pretty impressive just given the sheer amount of them. But as far as things are concerned, like those kind of little slip ups keep making Riddle get angry, further causing him to overblot, and then just kind of going off the handles and um, um, collaring everyone. And just randomly, we do get the image of a student who appears to be kind of like a dog beastman in heartslabyul. He didn't have a name by any means, and so who knows if or what he's gonna really do anything as far as the like anime stuff is concerned. But it was just kind of interesting to see, just because, granted, it's been like years since I've gone through the book one and prologue chapters. If it wasn't for kind of seeing the differences from the game to the anime, I don't think I would have gone back per se. Not in a bad way, but like just kind of a offhand aside comment of like, certain things that are part of the game that you don't really always recognize or remember just because of how deep in you are at this point. But yeah, no, that was kind of interesting that we got to see a dog beast man in heartslabyul. And as these things kind of are all happening, we do get to see that Riddle's Magestone is pretty much at full overblot. And so during all this, we get to see um, um, Deuce, and Deuce gets colored as well, so we get to see them all again with their collars as Riddle flies a little further off the handle. And as they are kind of being led out of heartslabyul, we do get to see um, I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, but we have Artemievich Pinker, who is better known as Chenya. Over here on the top left of my screen, I don't know if the screen recording will flip it, so it might be top right. But at the very worst, top left, possibly top right, we do have. Wait, no. Yeah, visually to my left. Anyway, so the image with the rose bush and the guy with purple hair, we have Chenya, who is basically the. He is not part of heartslabyul. He is not part of Night Raven College at all, actually. So it's kind of a. I don't recall if they really broke it down in the episode per se, but we have on Sage's Island, which is where Night Raven College is. There's at least two schools that we know of. Night Raven being the main school because that's where all these guys go. But we do also have Royal Sword Academy, which, as far as stuff with like the game and stuff like that, kind of seems to be more geared to the characters that are more representative of either the heroes or kind of like the sidekicks, stuff like that. Because I mean, the Chenya is meant to be obviously the Cheshire Cat, but no, I don't know if it's plausible to say or even correct by any stretch of the imagination to say that the Cheshire to say that the Cheshire Cat would qualify as a villain. Bit of an anti-hero, perhaps a bit of a kind of trickster character, sure, but I wouldn't outright personally say he is a villain. But anyway, yeah, so we have Chenya appearing in front of Deuce, Ace, Grim, and Yuken, and through talking with him, we do get to see in the anime a flashback to Riddle, Trey, and Chenya playing together as kids. He kind of goes over some minor details of like, oh, Riddle grew up to be this way because of his mother, who was like super strict, everything. Then Trey kind of does a little more exposition on that, which is how we kind of find out that little bit more of like his mother was super strict, and since both Riddle's mom and his dad were magical healers, as the anime put it, the mom especially was like super strict about him, kind of like living up to their legacy. So every bit of his day was planned down to the minute. Like everything for school, everything he ate, what he wore, all that type of shit. Everything was as closely calculated as she could possibly make it, seemingly. And another little aside onto the Chenya aspect, we do have him referring to himself as a person, per being the play on the onomatopoeic sound of a cat and its purring. So it'd be person, like Purrson. Chenya does, and granted you don't really hear it as much in the game, but Chenya does speak in cat puns a lot of time. A good amount of time. I don't know if to say a lot always, but you'll within his lines you'll usually hear and or see at least one like cat related pun. And then we have Grim adding on to it as well. We have him referring to Chenya as a meowsing little weirdo, which obviously we could tell is meant to be a play on the word amusing. So after the kind of exposition on Riddle's upbringing, while when they see Trey in the library, we do get a little more exposition on the rules of Night Raven College in general. We are told, and I believe they mentioned in either the past episode or one of the ones before that, but in one of the episodes, it is mentioned that Riddle took the house warden position. Within I think it's like within this first week of attending Night Raven by challenging the previous house warden and beating them in a fight, which is part of the rules. So according to kind of some of the mentions that were made, you can either challenge and beat the house warden, the current house warden, and you take over. You can be recommended for the position by that current current House Warden, and there's like two other ones. It's the fight, recommendation, appointed, which I guess is kind of the same, along the same lines as the recommendation. At least for sure, those two though. So we do also get that kind of little aside comment in regards to the challenging for House One, that since they're collared and whatnot, he's like, oh yeah, we'll just beat them up. But then Crowley goes on to say that non-magical assaults are forbidden in the duel, which is like any sort of physical attack. So like if you try to punch or kick or bite someone objectively, that would not be allowed. Then we have it, the duel is going to be I guess more or less the next day, since we go back to the ramshackle mirror showing the courtroom scene from Alice in Wonderland. And as we were doing all this, we also get to see, I forgot how they see it, but I mean, it's just they're in this room, so they see it regardless. But like, Deuce and Ace see, we see Yuken's kendo outfit, like the armor, the face shield. So as we get into that next bit and we go to the duel for the House Warden position, we do see Yuken with a banner that says "Dauntless Courage, Daunt, Dauntless, Dauntless Courage 1A," which is typically for anime schools, stuff like that. The 1A, 1B stuff is kind of like your session, your class room, stuff like that. So your class 1A is like their class, which is typically like a common enough number, just because like a bunch of things are share that name, uh letter slash number combination. For MHA, we do have class 1A being the main characters of that anime as well, their thing. But so as we get into the duel, we do see that Deuce is wearing Yuken's kendo face shield. And in fairness to them, we do also have, I mean, obviously it makes sense because it's a magical duel, but we have Crowley telling Riddle that he needs to take off, remove the collars from Deuce and Ace to make it a fair fight, or what would seemingly appear as a fair fight by everyone being able to use their magical abilities. And once that is done, we have Deuce and Ace kind of getting ready to fire a spell, and within mere seconds, the duel is over. We have Riddle casting Off With Your Head once more, and they both get their collars back, and basically losing the duel. And with that is kind of where the episode ends. We do get to see a little more of Overblot as well, so we'll pretty much. There's only 2 episodes left from this episode that we are currently talking about in this video. So we have episode 7 and 8. The anime itself, as of right now, with episode 6, has covered, aside from the prologue we have from book 1, we've covered all the way through chapter 22, with this episode specifically covering chapters 15 through 22. So we are 2 episodes away from the end of the season, and we are, as far as the game chronologically is concerned, we are like 6 chapters away from that, because there's 28 chapters for book 1. So they'll probably try and split maybe like 4 per each, and then maybe like the end of episode 8 as well will also probably have some of the starting stuff for book 2. But we'll see how that goes. Anyway, aside from that, once the episode ends, we get the usual kind of like little chibi theater. This time, it's basically just centered around Kalim, Jamil, and Ruggie. Basically, where Kalim had invited Ruggie over for lunch or a feast, however you want to call it. and then we see um, get to see that Kalim knows nothing about cooking, which given his upbringing, makes pretty good sense because he's like super rich. He's not really had to do much of anything for himself, so that all kind of checks out. So Jamil, especially now that they're at school, is the one who's basically doing everything for him. Cooking his shit, doing making sure he's not poisoned, all that shit that you would expect of someone in a very very long line of possible successors to the royalty would happen. There's basically in that Chibi theater, there's basically just a lot of back and forth in regards to them being like, oh yeah, no, like we'll have Jamil cook when Jamil's like, fuck no, I'm not gonna cook for you guys. And then Ruggie and basically ends up talking him into it for the most part, but that's mostly because he sees that Kalim in his attempts to cook is just kind of throwing shit together, and that generally does not work. It can work depending on what you throw in together, but as far as the comedic aspect for it, he was just throwing in shit that doesn't really work together. So after that, we have Jamil ends up doing all the cooking, and we have Ruggy leaving with kind of a fuck ton of bowls and trays and stuff like that with like extra food, since he said like he had cleared his schedule, he had not eaten since the previous night to make sure he had enough space for food and all that. And a few more minor details that we're gonna go over here as we're getting into the ending section for this video. We got a little bit more to go, but we're just about to wrap up. So as far as the animated game content, we only have one Twistoon that was used. Well, it wasn't used, but one Twistoon's worth of content that was covered with this chapter, with this episode. It's the Twistoon from chapter 15 of book 1. The Twistoon being called Paint the Roses Quick. And then some of the differences to the game. We do have them being cater, greeting them once they get to heartslabyul, whereas in the game he pretty much goes to pick them up at Ramshackle Dorm. In the anime, we after the duel's over, and like, granted, it's potentially a scene for the next episode since it just kind of barely covers the end of the House Warden duel for heartslabyul. As far as this episode of the anime is concerned, um, Ace does not punch Riddle, but again, I'm thinking that could just be a potential scene for the next episode. So most likely that's what'll happen. Further help to or harm, I guess technically, further throw things into disarray and chaos, and the pretty much upcoming overblocked debut of episode for Riddle. So we'll most likely see it in this next episode is what would be my guess, just because that he starts to kind of like overblock and get even more after this duel. So that's kind of what happens. So we'll most likely, for sure, in episode 8, since Noah has to all kind of what's the word, get resolved. So if not early on in the episode, by the end of episode 7, we'll see Riddle fully turn to his overblock form, most likely. And another slight difference to the game, we have one extra rule that we do get to see in the game that we haven't heard so far in the anime. We have rule number 249. Flamingo caretakers are to don pink attire, and this is just obviously kind of in regards to the the croquet tournament that they were going to have for the birthday party. And as far as kind of stuff that they might tie in that also happened in game, we'll have what I'm thinking as far as things that can happen in the next episode or two, because obviously the season's just about over. We got like 2 more weeks. We'll have Ace throwing a punch at Riddle, most likely. Riddle will use his unique spell on even more people. And as we get to see in the end, just after the duel in the game, so most likely within this next episode as well, we will get I think that we'll get to see him kind of like as he further reveals how we get to see in the game that he uses the rose bushes and stuff to try to attack as he kind of flies off the handle. But anyway, you guys, yeah, I feel like this more or less covers where we were at as far as this episode is concerned. So we'll cut it here. We'll work on getting the video uploaded, and as we have these last 2 weeks, last two episodes, once those two are done, we will try and make one just main video for to cover everything we got out of season one, possible speculation for season two, and we'll work on any other content for the future as well outside of the anime and the game. We'll try and do maybe like some tier list stuff. Possibly we'll look into how that part goes, but that's gonna be it for this one, you guys. So as always, thank you so much for joining. Feel free to share and like the videos, subscribe to the channels, all that good shit. Truly helps out and is appreciated. As always, thank you guys so much for your time. Signing off. Peace out.